City Council, Tuesday, March 27th. Please stand for invocation led by Reverend Bobby Brown, Bethel AME Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we come with bowed heads and uplifted hearts, knowing, God, it was you that sent an angel of mercy that camped at our bedside last night, who regulated our heartbeat and touched us with a finger of love, called us individually by name to see a day that we had never seen before. Now, God, we come giving you all the praise, asking, God, that these, your people that you call by name into service this morning, remind them of the purpose that they were called, remind them of the duty, remind them of the love. Let the way that we talk to each other reflect the love of you for us. Let the way that we talk and walk with each other reflect a Christian nature. And God, we will give you all the glory and all the praise. In the precious, awesome name of Jesus, I pray, and the people of God said,
Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to ask if we would observe a moment of silence in the memory of Mr. Nick Stratus, longtime leader in the Mobile community, very active in the HEPA movement, providing housing to those senior citizens in our community that desperately needed it, and just a great man in general, passed recently. And let's observe a moment of silence in his honor. Thank you. Yeah, just brace it for me if you don't mind.
Roll call. Vice President Manzi.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson. Councilmember Small.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Certainly glad to see each and every one of you taking an active role in your city government. We have a few rules that we'd ask that you would observe. Number one, we ask that you turn off or silence all of your electronic devices before or upon entering the meeting. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, ordinance, appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, we ask that you would state clearly your name and your address. If you'd like to speak on a non-agenda item, you must contact the city clerk's office no later than 2 p.m. on the Thursday prior to the council meeting. You must state to that office at that time the issue you'd like to address, and we ask that it be pertinent to City of Mobile business. Any person who has not given proper notice to the clerk's office and wants to speak on a non-agenda item will not be allowed to speak. You will be given 5 minutes to address the council. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 4 minutes. At that point, 1 minute will remain, which hopefully you'll use for summarizing, because at the ring of the next bell, we're going to ask that you would take your seat expeditiously. When addressing the council, there is to be no personal address to any individual council member. All statements need to be made to the chair, who will recognize any council member who wishes to respond. To maintain decorum, we also ask that there would be no undue applause and or public outcry during the tenure of this meeting. Thank you very much.
Approval of minutes of March 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved.
Communications from the Mayor's Office.
No communications.
Monthly finance report.
Monthly finance.
Monthly finance report, Mr. West.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have January results in, not February yet, but January was quite a surprise after 3 months of flat sales tax receipts. Christmas gave us a boost. We were 9% above last year's December in sales taxes. I looked at the state's receipts, and they were up about 2.9%. So we can't account for our increase other than we know our employment figures are way up over last year. And we will look at February with great interest to see if this is a trend or if this may have been catch-up from some lack of spending during the first quarter of the year. But that puts us up 4% on the year in sales taxes, which is a nice improvement. Revenues overall were up a pretty good bit. Both real estate taxes and fees and other forms of revenue were up about actually $5 million for the year. So we're hoping that that trend lasts for a little bit longer into the fiscal year. Our departments are all below budget, and I do want to give a special commendation to the fire department. You know, we had some years when the fire department was not making its budget, but with new leadership under Mark Seeley and Jeremy Lamy on budget matters, the fire department is well below budget and running what I think is a very efficient machine, as well as a machine that serves the public well. On another front, the legislature should go sine die on Thursday, so that would be their last day of being able to enact any legislation. So far this year, Councilman Williams, the business license raid by the legislature on the pharmacy side failed. The gas tax bill that did make it out of committee that would have increased gas tax but punished the cities by sending 80% of the local revenue to the counties did not get any further than that. I'll go into more detail perhaps in a week or so, but it looks like the SSUT bill is largely in our favor. It may not pass. We don't quite know yet. It might not make it, which would be acceptable to the city, but if it does pass, it will be to our advantage. So far, pretty good season in Montgomery. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Mrs. Rich?
Thank you very
Mrs.
much.
Small?
Appreciate the report and the good news about the revenue being up. That's wonderful and above budget. The fire department is due to get their longevity pay, and you mentioned that they are functioning well and everybody's copacetic. So that will go out the door starting in April, correct?
As scheduled.
Great, glad to hear that. One of the things that was discussed at the budget time was the rental payments that the city makes to the county, and there was that contention that the factor of collecting the tax and before it was an equilibrium type thing, what came in went out for paying, yet that was downtrending with that one stop, as you noted. Is the city paying rental payments and utilities to the county?
No, we're not. That matter, as you may recall, is in the middle of mediation right now, and we believe that there will be a successful result, and certainly we'll be able to explain that to you when it happens.
Okay, so no rental payments have been submitted to the county?
There were rental payments this fiscal year. I think one while settlement or mediation was ongoing.
Okay.
You know, I don't have the dollars and cents, but I think there was one rental payment, one monthly payment.
Okay, but the rest have not been submitted to them?
Correct.
But it's because you're in the mediation process? Is
That's
that what you're
correct.
saying? Okay. So, and do you anticipate an answer to that going forward soon?
We anticipate a successful result within probably a matter of a couple of weeks.
Okay, because we have just not been up to speed, and so I didn't know.
That's right.
And what about utilities? Because I think there was some contention with paying the bills that are does the county submit to the city?
They do. The county submits several monthly bills to us. One is the utility payments for government. We call them utility payments for government plaques, but it also includes security and some other
Okay. Is that being
expenses.
paid?
Not currently.
Not currently
That's in the
either.
same. That's in the
Yeah.
same situation.
Okay, because that was zeroed out when we got our budget. So I'm just very curious to
That's correct.
find out what that status is.
And of course, on the other side, there have been no fee payments by the county to the city.
Okay, so it's just gone quiet.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that information.
Mr. Small?
Hi, Ms. Welch. I appreciate the updates and the report and everything. Just to piggyback on what Ms. Rich said, it's not my original question, but you said that rent was paid one time this fiscal year?
There was one monthly payment made during the early stages of mediation.
On the line item of the budget, I thought that rent, was it zeroed out or was it anything on that line item?
I believe it was zeroed out.
So was we transfer money from one department or how did the money come from? I mean, paid
The
that one
rent
time.
has always come from the line item for City Hall overhead,
City Hall.
which includes like items of rent and expense that are not really capable of being allocated to a department. And what we trust is that when we're at the end of this engagement, that will all even itself out.
Thank you. Also, next question I have the administration, have they studied any means of reducing, sales tax in the future? Have they started, any type of study means as how can we reduce sales tax in the near future? I mean, is anything going on?
Councilman, do you mean how we can account for the loss of revenue?
Yes, sir, for the future, for we can just reduce get rid of 1 cent sales tax.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about
Yes, sir. Sales
reducing
tax.
the rate.
Yes, sir.
No, we've not. We've followed the council's lead there and are looking at, 5 years of the additional 1 cent sales tax for a total of 5 cents. And we really have not looked beyond this year and then the next 5 years. I think, but your question is a good one because at some point, whether it's through rate reduction or whether it's through a long-term reduction on collections because of the different ways that our citizens are, consuming goods that bear sales tax, we're going to have to look at what the long-term trends will be and how the city will have to adjust for that eventual decline or flattening of sales tax revenues.
Yeah, that's my concern is that 5 years will fly by real quick. And I heard you stated earlier that we still, flat with sales tax. And my question is that, have the administration look at other means, past the 5 years, or could we also revisit this and reduce the sales tax for the citizens if we can find other means as far as in the revenue that will, that will substitute the 1 cent sales tax?
Yeah, that's a good question, and certainly one that requires some study in the future. I know that the City Council has a taxation committee that has done very good work in the past, and I understand that will be an ongoing engagement by that committee, but the administration also is looking at the breakdown of different streams of revenue. I think as we've talked about before, it was not that many years ago when we didn't have a sales tax. Today, our sales tax accounts for 2/3 of our budget. So we have certainly gotten to a point in a relatively short period of time where we have depended upon what is probably the most mercurial form of revenue, which is a tax dependent upon how consumers feel. Consumer confidence is, what produces sales. And so since we don't know when consumer confidence is going to ebb and flow, when we depend upon sales tax for the lion's share of our revenue, we subject ourselves to an unknown future. So that is a good point. The other forms of revenue in our budget are business license fees, which themselves are based on gross sales, so account for another large percentage of the budget. And then property tax, which is static and accounts for a very small portion of our budget. And then the lion's share of the remainder are fees, which, as you know, have not risen in about the same period of time that our sales tax has been in place. So if we believe that our future will require the same amount of revenue as we have today on a same dollar basis, then if sales taxes go down, something else has to go up or services have to be reduced. So it is a complicated question and a complicated answer, but I think what we're doing now, what you're doing with your tax committee and what the administration is doing are necessary and are going to be stronger engagements as we go through the year.
Yes, like I stated, a couple months ago, that's something that we need to continue to have a dialogue about because of flat revenues, and second, different stores are closing. I was going down the airport the other day and the car lot closed down. And as long as crime is up in the malls, people are not going to visit the malls and spend money. So we really need to visit that, because if, next thing behind flat is, so we don't want to head that direction. So as long as we keep the dialogue going, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yes.
Any further questions for Mr. West? And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam City Clerk, we're going to take time now for our presentations. Okay. Mrs. Gregory.
Thank you, and good morning again, everybody.
Good morning.
It is my pleasure today to award two separate proclamations, but they will be some of the same people with the same organization, so I'll explain that in just a minute. I would like to ask the Reverend Cleveland McFarland, and I know he has a couple of folks, some trustees from his church, St. Peter Missionary Baptist, who would like to come with him. They have been celebrating a very special anniversary, so I want to give them a chance to come down.
Maybe she wants to go.
All right. Again, it is my pleasure this morning to recognize this church in our community that has celebrated a tremendous anniversary. Pastor McFarland, why don't you come up here with me? Whereas St. Peter Missionary Baptist Church recently celebrated its 117th church anniversary. Whereas in 1920, the church was incorporated under the laws of the state of Alabama, and their first structure, which was a wooden building built inside the beautiful downtown of Mobile. And whereas the past ministers who gave tirelessly to building and success of this historic church include Reverend Henry McCrae, Reverend W.H. Humphrey, Reverend S.L. Fox, Reverend Richard Collins, Reverend T.J. Davis, followed then by Reverend P.O. King from 1966 through 1988. And whereas Reverend Cleveland McFarland Jr. is the current and longest serving pastor. He began in 1989 and is still the pastor of the church.
All right.
He has provided progressive leadership to prepare St. Peter Missionary Baptist Church for the 21st century. And whereas history bears witness to the active role that they all played in setting the vision for generations to come through continuing outreach to help save souls and bring people to Christ. And now, therefore, we, and that is me, and Vice President LaVon Manzi, who is also who represents the district where the church is, along with the mayor and members of the entire Mobile City Council, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 27th, 2018 as St. Peter Missionary Baptist Church Day in Mobile, and we urge all citizens to join with us in this momentous occasion. So congratulations. Okay, this one is for the church, and I want to show you this. And then I'm going to, why don't we, let some of your trustees have a minute, and then I've got another proclamation for you. And if you would introduce everybody.
Mr.
Good
Vice
evening.
President.
Good morning.
Wait till after.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Council, Vice President to this great group. First one to be up was one of our trustees, Sister Diane Lucas, and then Derek Finkley.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you for this very well-deserved, I think, award for our church. I've been a lifelong member of St. Peter Baptist Church, been there all my life and love it. And thank you very much for honoring us today.
Yes, ma'am.
Derek Finkley. Good morning to everyone. We would like to thank you all for this award and this great opportunity.
Yes, sir.
And I said we have two, and we do. I've already kind of spilled the beans on the second one. This is for Reverend Cleveland McFarland Jr.
All right.
Reverend McFarland, as I mentioned, has begun his 30th year as pastor of St. Peter Missionary Baptist Church. 30 years in the same church. That's amazing. Whereas he is the 7th and longest serving pastor of St. Peter Missionary Baptist Church, and whereas Reverend McFarland has provided progressive leadership to prepare St. Peter Missionary Baptist Church for an unfolding 21st century, and whereas he organized improvements and structural upgrades needed for spiritual growth and effectual disciplining, or discipling, I think is what that's supposed to be. Maybe both.
Probably both of them.
He implemented Vision 2000 in phases, which included adding a child care center back in '02, a multi-purpose family life community center in 2012, and remodeling the sanctuary. So now, therefore, we, that's me, Gina Gregory, Council Member of District 7, and Levon Manzi, Council Vice President, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 27th, 2018 as Reverend McFarland Jr. Day in the city of Mobile, and we urge everyone to join with us in this momentous occasion. You know, I mentioned that the church is actually in Councilman Manzi's district, but Reverend McFarland lives in my district.
All right.
So we are sharing the duties today of awarding these proclamations, and again, they are very well deserved, and we are just so happy to have you here, so glad you could come. And, you know, this is his 30th year, so there will be a lot of things going on within this 30th year, building up to the actual day when we'll have a big celebration, and I hope we're all invited.
Yes, yes.
And I know you would like to have a couple of words, and before you all leave, I want to get a picture with Marion. So why don't you go ahead, and then we'll take some pictures, and here is your actual proclamation. So thank you again. I'm so glad you're able to come today.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice President, I think there are some more members of St. Peter Baptist Church that are present. Could y'all
That's right.
please stand?
All right, St. Peter.
Let me name them, if you will. Sister Carrie, Sister Blackwell, Sister Jones, Sister Norwood, Sister Jeannie Hatch, Sister Richardson, Mr. Richardson, Sister Lucas, Brother Finkley. I know my members.
Yes, sir.
Let me thank you so very much. Thank you, Councilman Gina Gregory. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Vice President Manzi, and to everyone who is here. We do everything we can to try to do what God has called us to do. And so we want to thank you so very much for this great honor. I shared it with most of my people, and I have some friends. I have some minister friends. If I could ask them to stand, the preachers, right? I got some ministers, and the president of our IMA and all of our preachers
who are here, thank you. They came because I told them about it, and so they came to honor with us. I am so appreciative. This is my home. I tell everybody I am from Shabuta, Mississippi. That's a great place. I tell everybody that's where the Lord resides. But I've been here now almost going on that 30 years, and Mobile has become my home. I want to thank all of you for this great honor again. I'm lost for words, and I'm very seldom lost for words, but I just thank God. Bless you. We they said something about discipline, and I heard an amen. But thank you so much. We want to continue to do great works in this city. St. Peter will be always ready, willing, in order to have great dialogue, come together to do what we can to help our city grow, help our city be the best that it would ever be. God bless you. Thank you so very much, and my heart goes out to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
One second, Reverend. Mr. Davis?
I would just like to congratulate you, Reverend McFarland, and St. Peter Baptist Church. Although I have to wonder what they were thinking when they brought down a 12-year-old boy from Shabuta, because you can't be more than 42 years old.
I like you. Thank you so much. No, I'm not. I wasn't 12. And but anyway, no. I arrived here in Mobile about 31. I passed it. So now you know how old I am. You know.
You're looking really good, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I've spent some time in Shabuta. A nice town. Nice town.
Thank you.
And I also would just like to add my congratulations both to Pastor McFarland and to the St. Peter Missionary Baptist Church for 117 years. It's been a beacon of spiritual light in our community. I know so many of the members. I need to get a check to one of your members sitting, Sister Karen. I want to get it to you before you leave, hopefully. And I just thank all of you for what you do, both inside your physical church sanctuary, but also in the community. It means a lot. Pastor McFarland, both on the local, state, national level, is known, has worked tirelessly in our national convention. He's moderator of all moderators, and he served our local association for 8 wonderful years. And he's been a personal friend, not only to me, a counselor, but also to my father. He's been over to our church several times. So I'm just honored, and we say congratulations on 30 years, and we hope you have 30 more.
Yes.
And I thank my colleague, Councilwoman Gregory, who we do share. I did not realize that you lived in District 7. At any time you want to move to the best side of town, you're more than welcome. Again, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you very much. I am the, St. Peter have only had 7 pastors in 117 years. Every pastor have died serving. I'm the 7th pastor. And then I just made more years than Dr. Fox, who has been there for 26 years. So I'm honored, and I'm just thanking God. Thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Manzi. Thank you, Brother Smalls, who have been our great supporters. All, thank you so very much. And thank you, Sister Jeannie Gregory, again, for this honor and anything that we can do in order to help facilitate a further move of Mobile. Please don't hesitate to ask. God bless you. Then.
God bless you.
Appreciate it.
Now, I have a couple of special presentations that I need to do as well. The individuals associated with Sparkle Learning Center, are you here? Yes. All right, I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, I have a proclamation for you. And if you don't mind, if you could come to the podium here, I'm going to read this proclamation. We're glad to have you and this fine organization in our city. And then I'm going to ask if you'd come and we get a photo behind the dais here. You can make your way on down. And the proclamation reads thusly: whereas Sparkle Learning Center's 30th Annual Academic and Cultural Spring Break Tour, Taste of the Gulf Coast, will be held along the Gulf Coast on March 26 through 28, 2018. And whereas Sparkle Center for the Arts and Computer Literacy, founded by Director Maxlin in Fairfield, Alabama, has served youth in Jefferson County for the past 37 years. And the goal of Sparkle is to assist students in developing skills needed to become self-reliant, independent thinkers, problem solvers, to believe and respect themselves and others. And whereas they provide a year-round cultural and performing arts program, a computer-based after-school program throughout the school year, transportation from local schools to the center, a full 10-week summer camp program, holiday camps, a week-long cultural, academic, and performances spring break tour, and a 4-day teens retreat. Whereas the center also offers an array of opportunities from dance, theater, visual art, computer skills, etiquette, tutoring, homework assistance, field trips to local performances and exhibits, performance production opportunities, a library, and graduated levels of computer literacy training. Now therefore, I, Levon C. Manzer, Council Vice President, along with the mayor and members of the Mobile City Council, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 27, 2018, as Sparkle's 23rd Annual Academic and Cultural Spring Break Tour Day in the city of Mobile, and we urge all our citizens to join with us in this momentous occasion. We're happy to have you all here, and we certainly would like to hear any commentary you'd like to offer. And I would love to be right there with you at that podium. I'm kind of rebounding from some issues with my knees, but I'm going to ask if you'd come and we get a quick photo with the proclamation. And again, welcome to our city.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, I would like to speak, but the primary thing, we were down here in 2012, and Mr. Richardson, he gave us a proclamation, and then at that point in time, 6 years ago, this young man right here was 6 and held the distinction of being the youngest student ever to go on tour with us. Today, his record was broken because we have a 5-year-old that made the trip. And I'm going to tell you, I was sitting up there, I felt so comfortable here. It's amazing. I know you guys take it for granted how you do what you do. I understood y'all financial reports, you know, and I feel comfortable being here. I feel safe and secure, and that means a lot. And then taking the time to acknowledge community groups, because the watering that y'all of his spirit, he's a AB honor roll. All you guys are AB honor roll students. That's the only way they can get here. But I'm going to turn it over to him, and my wife probably want to say something. But he read a proclamation from our city to you all 6 years ago, and y'all, 6-year-old can read. This guy beats me in computer sciences now. Okay, he's my grandson too.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for giving us the proclamation. Like you said, the last time I was here, I was 6 years old. And I can't remember much about it, but I do have a lot of good memories of me and my friends being here. All of them unfortunately can't come this time, but thank you anyway.
Glad to have you.
Okay, I think it's still morning, so good morning. And I am also delighted to be here, and always enjoy coming. I come almost every summer to the mega conference that's held here, so I'm here quite often, and I always enjoy being here in your city. And like Frank said, I feel very comfortable here, and I thank you all for awarding us the proclamation today, and we really appreciate it. We couldn't bring all of our students this time, but because of financial reasons, but we brought a nice representation of the young people that work with us in our program. And so we are just so happy, and we also appreciate your community awareness, church group that was here and all the work that they are doing. We do understand that, and that is very important. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, Marion, if you could get them to come and just take a picture with us, they're certainly welcome, and we're glad to have you here in our beautiful city.
Maybe some of the
Come on in.
so we can see your face. You want to come move up a little bit?
Little girl in the oranges.
How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Congratulations.
Who are we looking at?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hold on, let's get that proclamation.
Sure. Well, wait a minute. Let me do a little better than that. Come on. Stand and send it to you. There we go. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And now we'd like to recognize Mr. Eddie Irby Jr. and the individuals who worked so tirelessly with him and his 92nd Infantry Division of the Buffalo Soldiers Association in the recent beautiful work done at Oaklawn Memorial Cemetery. Mr. Irby, if you could come along with the individuals who worked with you on this great effort. Ms. Fairley, if you could come and assist him with these proclamations. We prepared proclamations for the individuals that he submitted names to our office, and we certainly want to say to all of you who worked in the beautiful renovations and remodeling that have taken place, cleaning up in general at Oaklawn Memorial Cemetery, thank you for what you've done. We're going to pause just a moment. I know we got some members of St. Peter's, some St. Peterites that might have to get up, and we understand that. Thank you again for what you do for Sparkle. I see you all are having to leave as well. Safe travels, and we look forward to you all coming back as soon as possible. As the council person for the area that the Oaklawn Memorial Cemetery is located, I wanted to not only thank Mr. Irby, but thank all of you for your efforts to modernize and clean up this cemetery. It's not gone unnoticed, and we wanted to present these proclamations. Ms. Fairley, if you could come up there. And she has proclamations for everyone listed, but if you could let her know your name and our organization, then we can get you your specific proclamation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vice President. My name is Eddie Irby, 1116 Richard Road. I am the president and the founder of the 92nd Infantry Division, Buffalo Soldiers, World War II. I'd like to first thank you, the city council members, the mayor, for inviting us. This is something that we walked into. Thank you for recognizing us. We weren't looking for recognition. We want a mission. And one of the things we have learned from these World War II guys that you don't go anywhere or do anything or start any kind of meeting without giving praise to the Lord first. One of the old members of the Mobile Fire Department, Mobile Police Department, has been with us on several occasions, and we want to recognize him first because we have basically drafted him as to our chaplain. And this is Chaplain Jim Gable. He didn't even know he was going to get a certificate this morning, but we're going to give him a certificate of appreciation, and I'd like him to come forward first. And the certificate says, Certificate of Appreciation is hereby granted to Chaplain Jim Gable, Mobile Police Department, for outstanding performance and contribution to Operation Overlord. I'll get into what Operation Overlord and where it came from later on.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And one more, we have, when we put the first 30-foot flagpole there at Oaklawn Cemetery, some guys around the corner came around to give their approval of it because we knew it was steady and tight because we do this all the time. But we had Station 14 come around, give their approval on the flagpole, but also Station 14 came back when we had a controlled burn last week. And these guys were absolutely fabulous. They came in, they hung around, they told us what we can and could not do. But all of this started with actually Captain Jackson because he came out first, told us how it goes, what we have to do and this sort of thing. Anyway, the guys at the station, we didn't want to disrupt them or get them in trouble by leaving work where they were supposed to. So we had the fire chief or either somebody from the fire department. So Jackson is here. He's going to accept the certificate for Operation Overlord from Tomerville Station 14, Station 14. Incidentally, we have another burn tomorrow at 11 o'clock because we got about 80% of it done on that first section. But this is something that the guys can hang up in the fire station, Captain. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Now, Ms. Fowler, have you identified everyone? Let's give these proclamations out now.
Okay.
To the individuals and entities that are here. And again, on behalf of our entire district, our entire city, we thank you for your hard work. Mr. Irby, we thank you for your leadership in this effort and for everyone who's worked so hard in correspondence with you to try to make improvements there at Oaklawn Cemetery.
Yeah, these four here, when we had that thing at Oaklawn Cemetery, we had about 25 or 30 bikers from the Patriot Guard riders. These guys ride some very expensive bikes, and they had to come and put them in a place where we couldn't keep an eye on them. We did not know there were two policemen standing on the corner there watching those bikes, and there were two policemen on the other end here. We got a certificate. Those guys are out, but I don't know if the Chief Baptiste was supposed to get them. If he's not here, then we'll get to them later on then. But those four police, we got those guys there because those bikes are kind of expensive, and we didn't know you were going that far, Councilman Mans. You know, Neil, Brian, United States Air Force. These guys, what I'm calling now, we went in there in November, a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving. Now, the word, where I got the thing, Operation Overlord, you know, two of my biggest admirers are Dwight D. Eisenhower and Winston Churchill. And you'll see in your program there, we got some quotes from both of them. Operation Overlord, during that time, before they went into normal, Operation Overlord was what Eisenhower had. We got Operation Overload because we wanted to overload this community and get through with it. The first one I'd like to give to is Neil from the United States Air Force. This guy has been here forever. You know, sometimes I have to run him home because he's a Vietnam vet. But thank you for your hard work, dedicated service, and valuable time. You have volunteer weekly since November 2017 with Operation Overlord to help maintain clean veterans' grave sites at Oaklawn Memorial Cemetery. This program was initiated by the 92nd Infantry Division, Buffalo Soldiers Association, World War II. On behalf of the citizens of Mobile, it is an honor and pleasure to present you this certificate of appreciation for a job well done. Done at the city of the 27th day of March, Levon Manson, Council Vice President, District 2.
Yes, sir. Thank you all so much.
And I guess the rest of them, these other here that's with me, Fran Merman, his wife, she's out. This is the woman. She's going to give you the website because everything that we have done, every photo, everything that's been put on Facebook, everything we've done, she has been, this is the lady that does. She's a retired nurse from Providence Hospital, but you think she's been out there on the battlefront too. So.
Thank you.
And Sherry Deacle. Yes.
Thank you.
And Shirley Knight. Now I got to say something special about Miss Knight because Miss Knight is from the African Methodist Church.
Corinthian Missionary Baptist.
Missionary, okay, yeah. Want to get it straight. Let me tell you, these ladies are outstanding. I went to do a presentation over there, and let me tell you, we have invited those ladies because normally during Black History Month, you go there, you got 2 or 3 ladies dressed in the African garb. I went in that church to do a presentation, and you'd think the whole village was there because those ladies were dressed really, really nice. So we've asked them to be in our program for May 8th. But thank you. Okay, United States Coast Guard. Where is the Coast Guard guy? Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Y'all come back together.
Or you could come up. Yeah, well, after we finish, we could take a photo up here if you don't mind.
Okay.
Again, thank all of you for all of your hard work. We know there's yet work to be done, and we continue to solicit your continued support as Oaklawn is going to be an issue that we're going to have to pay some dear attention to in the very near future. In the interim, we appreciate all that you all have done to get it where it is, and we hope you're able to assist in keeping it up. Thank you all so much.
Each one of you have a sheet inside your folder there, and I'll explain to you. At that sheet, it tells you, it has a GPS. When somebody goes in there, it tells whether or not you can use GPS to go directly to a grave site. It has a photo, the photo date. It has the last name of the serviceman there. We have the first name, his rank, division, the event, award that he was in, the date of birth, and the date of death there. And some of the people that we have found in there, one man in particular, Dillard Bell was on a wagon train. This is the beginning of the Red Ball Express. During the Old West, when the Buffalo Soldiers were going, they didn't have the trucks then, but they had the wagoneers there. But in that cemetery, we have found Tuskegee Airmen, we have found Buffalo Soldiers there, we have found men who rode with Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders. We have found even a half dozen of them, I think, with the Star of David on their headstone. So that just goes to show you the mixture of people that was in there.
Yes, sir.
Again, thank you.
No problem. Thank you all. Now, if we could get a quick photo, if you don't mind.
And Mr. Vice President, while they come up, I do want to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Irby for everything he does, not only with the Buffalo Soldiers and certainly Oak Lawn Cemetery and the work that they are spearheading there, but also for just the veterans in our area. Mr. Irby is very active in all of these areas, and I just want to be sure that we thank him for what he does as well.
Exactly, 100%. Thank you, Mr. Irby.
Y'all want to kind of spread out a little bit? Y'all can come down here.
Come on, spread on out. Come on. All right. How are you?
All right. We just want to make sure that everybody can be seen.
Good to see you, sir.
All right.
That would help.
Thank y'all so much.
All right.
Congratulations. Thank you for all that hard work down there.
Yes, sir. All right. All right. Good seeing you.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Probably motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted.
Appeals, we have requests for a waiver of the noise ordinance on April 28th on South Monterey Street and April the 8th on Airport Boulevard.
So moved.
Second?
Probably motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Joe Adamo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You always heard this phrase,
If
see
you
something.
could state for the record your name and your address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Joe Adamo, address is 2606 Charleston Oaks Drive East, 36695.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm sorry. You've always heard the phrase, see something, say something. And that's why I'm here today. To start, it's important that you know something about myself to give credibility in what I'm about to cover. I want you to understand that it's just not a whim to come in here and talk to you. I spent 37 years in the management of JCPenney. And during this assignment, I had assignments throughout the Southeast United States. I managed 34 stores at one time. Then I was on the regional staff of 250 stores. So I've had a lot of experience in staff work and line work, the difference between the two. So I feel that I have qualifications to cover the subject that I'm covering, which is the trash and litter in this city. I know this comes up all the time, but I've got a mission on myself. I'm getting fed up with my friends, my kids coming into Mobile and saying, wow, what a lot of trash. But I see it. I know what other cities look like. I've lived in 10 other cities, and I've managed stores in all these other cities in the Southeast. So I have seen all the areas that have trash, don't have trash. And I am not proud of that, of this city, but I am very proud of the city for what it's for and what it's done. We have lived here, my wife and I, for 31 years. I know many of you have lived here longer than that, but I am still very proud of it. Decided to live here for one reason. The people here have been so great. So we stayed here. I could have lived any place else I wanted, but I stayed here because of the people. Now, the problem is primarily, and I'm skipping through this, I know you've been here a while, that we have trash on our streets. Everybody says, yeah, we know we have trash. But do they know what the trash is all about? I'm asking each of you, when you leave here today, go make sure you observe the trash that's on the streets. May sound silly. I'm not talking about litter, I'm talking about trash. Where is that trash coming from? If you look at it, it's not litter, people throwing stuff out. About 80% is trash coming off the backs of trucks, coming back of vans, lawn services, etc. So we've got trash all over that can be managed. Litter is hard to manage because it's just someone driving down the street throws a cup out. Yes, you'll see McDonald's cups out there and all, but some of those even come off the back of these trailers and such. So we need to do something about it. Now I call Bess about this and say, why don't we have some kind of ordinance? Why don't we have some kind of law about that? Guess what? We have one. And I've yet to find anyone besides Bess that even knew about it. So what's that mean? If they don't know about it, they're not adhering to it. They're not enforcing it. And today to be here and nobody in these empty seats is a kind of a disappointment on this because the city is the city. It is the council. It is this group of people here. But I don't want to preach just to you. Preach. I'm not a preacher. I'm no preacher. But I want to talk to you about that. And it's in the ordinance I've got in front of me. And I know I've got short time, so I'm skipping over a lot of things I was going to say. And it's very well written. It is almost a perfect. But what good is it? Nobody knows about it. Nobody's trying to enforce it. We need some enforcement on this law. And it hits exactly, and a couple words here, it shall be in violation of this article for any person, hauler, firm, or business to haul garbage. And I won't go through all of that, I think I just heard the beeper. But I've got a 4-step approach here. First, educate the public to this ordinance. You do that by contacting the media. Someone, city, you. Contact the media, let them know. I have talked to them already.
You've contacted me.
Okay, well, I have talked to them already. I've talked to TV people, I've talked to Lanyap, I've talked to quite a few people, but they are telling me unless these two groups do something, they're not going to put anything out there. And we need to have the public be aware of it. Then just making them aware that they need covers over their trucks isn't enough. We've got to help them. Make sure these things are available. Can you buy one today? Where do you buy one? They have to have these. So my proposal is that we need to enforce this law and by giving these people, say 90 days, to get a tarp on top of their trucks. Give them 90 days, and if they don't have it in between and you stop them, give them a warning, do something. But then after that amount of time, we can do something more. But they need to be fined, and the people need to know about it. I know that I heard my beeper there, but.
Well, if you could be summarizing, Mr. We would certainly appreciate it.
Well, I just summarize it. I'm just concerned that we're not doing anything, and we need somebody to do something. Because when my family comes in 2 weeks ago, the son came in, all he could talk about the amount of trash he saw in this city. And that hit my hot button. So I arranged, thank you, Bess, for listening to me, and to come here and make it some kind of a presentation. But some of you need to talk to these people also. We need your help talking to those people.
Well, we appreciate you coming down today. Pronounce your last name for me one more time.
Adam O. It's Adam, then an O in the end.
Mr. Adam O., we appreciate you coming down today. The issue that you brought before us, while all of us are passionate about it, all of us are concerned about it, enforcement is an administrative function. And so, do you have a pen on you? A pen? 208, I want you to write this number down, 208-7395. Unfortunately, Mayor Stimson was not able to be with us in this particular meeting. He was at pre-council, but I believe he would be just as interested as we have been in hearing your commentary, and I wish that you'd reach out to him. His chief of staff is here, Mr. Paul West, and I'm sure that he's wrote some copious notes concerning what you've said. And reach out to the administration, because enforcement is an administrative function. We make the law, but they're in charge of enforcing the law. And like you said, the ordinance is
I
a pretty,
understand that.
pretty good ordinance.
That's why I almost left when I saw no one here to hear me. I said, what, am I wasting my time? You all wrote the law, you know what it is, but it is their job to enforce it.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm sure they had somewhere very
I
important to be. I get
Like
that.
I said, I've been in business
Yes, sir.
37 years on both sides, there and there,
Yes,
so
sir.
I understand it.
Yes, sir.
I understand how this works. So I wanted to just vet myself to you. I've been retired 20 years, and it's the first time I've had any issue that I really wanted to speak to the city about.
Yes, sir.
And that's, I hope everybody heard me.
If I could comment?
Mrs.
That's
Rich?
okay. Mr. Adamo, I hear you loud and clear, and I know that we tried to get you a meeting with the mayor. And hopefully, after your presentation today, you'll be given that opportunity to sit with him and go over, you know, your points about how the city could broadcast what the law is. And we can do this as council too, through our newsletters. I know that Commissioner Hudson is getting ready to have a big initiative where she's urging people to come out to the John Archer Center on Thursday at 6 o'clock. And it's a coastal community initiative that she's programmed with. Some other council people are part of it. And it's to get citizens involved in actually going into their neighborhoods or on the rights of way to pick up trash. But the idea that we have this ordinance in place and that it could be enforced with, like you said, the education, using our PR. We have a PR director. We can dovetail into whatever the administration, you know, would also use their efforts to get out the word. And this is the time of year when spring cleaning and all these lawn businesses and citizens are out there cleaning up and collecting. They need to have a tarp. It is the law, and it does keep it from blowing and adding to the litter and trash problem that we have. So thank you so much. I sense your passion, and I appreciate it immensely. I really, truly do.
Thank you, Bess. Appreciate it. So
Mr.
one little quick thing.
Go ahead.
Your name tag is not Joel Davies.
Joel.
Joel is not Bess. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And before, Mr. Vice President?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a comment as well, and I certainly understand where you're coming from on putting tarps on trucks. You know, city trucks for the longest were one of the bigger offenders. Hopefully that has been taken care of. People should know better than to go hauling things that fly off the backs of trucks without putting something on. People should know better about a lot of things, correct? So I understand where you're coming from, and I think with Paul being here, he can relay to the mayor what you have said. I think the question will be who's going to enforce it. Is it police department? Are they our inspectors? You know, who's going to do it? Who's going to stop these people? Who's going to write tickets? But again, that's their job, and we hope that they will do it. Same thing with throwing fast food wrappers out the car window. I live off Ziegler Boulevard. I can have community service workers out picking up litter, and it is primarily fast food wrappers, plastic bags, you name it, that sort of stuff. One day, very next day, it's all littered again. You know, so there is truly a lack of, I think, well, education one, but caring is the second part. We have to care about our city in order to do the right thing. And I don't know, we're not there. So we can educate as best we can. I know there are programs in the schools. We've tried a lot of things, but we got to get something going that's better than what we've done before. And I agree with you, and hopefully we can make this work. Also with spring and summer and everybody's getting out and cleaning their yards, people are still blowing pine straw, leaves, grass, you name it, right into the gutters. That too is illegal. We see it everywhere. So if you see it, report it. Oh yeah, oh, it's everything, I know. That will help. Yeah, hopefully that will be a good domino effect, you're right.
Mr. Small?
Yes, Mr. Vice President, I'd like to thank Mr. Adamo for coming down this morning to address the council. The council can make all the rules, all the laws, but we cannot really enforce them. I wish we could, because I know that in District 3, I have several stores that's in the neighborhood, in the community, that just have trash sitting outside of it. We do have laws, we have an ordinance for stores that have trash, but it's just not being enforced. And I kind of wish that the administration would tighten up on enforcement. It's just like if you have a child, if you have a good child, you don't whoop them. But if you have a bad child or disobedient child, you whoop them a little bit. But as long as we do not find these stores that have all this trash that's going into the waterways, it's just going to continue to happen and happen and happen again. And again, we can create all the laws up here, but again, we cannot enforce them. And my request is for the administration to enforce them, especially in District 3, because that's like my third biggest challenge that I have in my district is litter. And it's just not only just the stores, but I have a lot of homes, especially a lot of rental homes that I might have a rental property right here, and the people have a lot of trash and debris in their yard. Then that person right next door to them, they own their home and it's beautified, and I have people living in the community just like that, and it's just not fair at all. But again, I do appreciate you for coming down here and shedding light on this bad situation.
Mr. Davis?
Thank you, sir. I'd also like to comment on this issue, and I've spent a good deal of time picking up trash on the roadsides, and my experience is that 80% of what's out there is discarded food and beverage containers. It's just the roads I've been on, and while I think from my limited perspective that enhanced enforcement is one of the solutions, it can't be the only solution. When you think about what's been done, and I just picked drunk driving as an instance where 30 years ago people would drive drunk all the time and they've been shamed. Now people have been shamed, and it's been a combination of enhanced enforcement and shaming that has got to the point now where very few people are doing this. They get designated drivers, they Uber, they do something so they're not driving while intoxicated. The same thing has to happen with litter. The best way to handle the litter issue is for it not to come out of the vehicles to begin with. And that's going to require education, that's going to require some shaming, and we can't rely on just the administration or the police department to solve this. This has got to be a community-wide effort. It's got to involve not only the citizens, but the vendors, the stores that are letting the food and beverage containers and the plastic bags and everything else that ends up on our streets come out of their stores. They have to play a part in this also. So I think as you've said, that there is not one solution. There have to be multiple solutions and pressure put on all of those in order to really get to where we want to be. Thank you.
Mrs. Rich?
Yes, and I don't know if this is possible, but I'd like to challenge the administration. Since a business comes forward and we know what type of business they're going to conduct, and if they are in the lawn service or hauling trash or whatever, and that is the designation of their licensure, since we're mailing them something back in return, could there be an instruction on what is required with their business to work well within our community? So, Mr. Wash, I don't know if you see where I'm going with this? Like, we give a business license to people and they have to communicate with us annually. Is there a way that we could send an instruction about having tarps on vehicles? I mean, if we're communicating, I don't know if that's possible, but a lot of it has to do with these businesses are not aware what their responsibility is. And we would be a really good outlet, since they have to have a business license to run our streets.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes,
if I may, we can certainly do that. That's possible. Let me say that Mr. Harkins has been assembling regular meetings with a litter task force to deal with the concept of enforcement. Although we've talked about throwing wrappers out the car window and things of that nature, the vast majority of the litter that makes its way certainly into our waterways comes off of premises, landowners, business owners. That is really where enforcement is going to have the greatest magnitude of result. It's also where enforcement is going to have the largest outcry. I think we as a city, administration and council, have to be prepared, for those consequences. I think they are consequences we must withstand. It wasn't several decades ago that premises owners were outraged that they would have liability for people who slipped and fell on their premises. Today, it's different. Through education and the passage of time and enforcement by civil action, premises owners have come to understand that that is the price of their being franchised to do business within a jurisdiction. We have to get to a point where premises owners understand that it is also a cost of their franchise ability to do business, that they're responsible for anything that blows onto their property, regardless of where it came from. And so, we agree with you, and enforcement is the way to go. I think we're getting to the point where we have plans in that regard. But I do want to caution us, not to not go there, but I want to caution us that we must be prepared to stand up and defend that enforcement when it happens.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel like we have that strength as a council because we hear from so many citizens. Out in West Mobile, because we're near that landfill where people can dump, or businesses can dump all of their trash and everything, we do see a lot of businesses that are running the streets incorrectly. And, so that's an area of town that might be an initiative that the city wants to look at because of being close to that landfill where people bring their, construction and all of their debris out because it's a private one. The city uses it too, but that's one of the corridors is Grelot, Cottage Hill, University, and so it's really something that is noticeable for people out in that area.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Williams? I'm sorry, Mr. Adamo. We're going to have to hear from Mr. Williams, and then we're going to need to move forward with the agenda. Thank you for coming down today. We really do appreciate all you say.
I'm going to say this in lieu of my announcement, and I'm just going to remind everybody, we have to be at Victory Health. They're expecting us and have for a month. But anyway, I'm going to say that, isn't it interesting that all of us have the answer, and all of us know the problem, and we have one of the worst problems anywhere. And I just challenge anybody in this room, who picked up a double handful of trash today? It doesn't have to be your trash. It doesn't have to be your problem. Who picked up a double handful of trash? And I'm going to join Mr. Daves in saying that there's not just one solution. Right. But I would be very careful at pointing fingers at anyone, because I followed one of our own very own trash trucks. And you can do it any day of any week, and you will find that on Hamilton Boulevard or on Cottage Hill or on Halls Mill Road, as our own trash trucks, as well as those of the industry, move along, and they have tarps, they have everything, and paper is still just going nuts. So to echo what Mr. Dave said, there's not one solution. There also is absolutely not one contributor that this whole thing, that we can find an answer and fix. But one way to make sure that your area is clean, and that adds to what Mr. West was saying, that we all have an individual responsibility. And today, on the property where my office is, all the naysayers can say what they want, but there's no trash on the property where my wife's office is, because I personally picked it up. There's a little less trash in front of Government Plaza between here and the cathedral, because I personally picked it up. And I'm not saying that I'm any better, but I'm going to say that we all must contribute in some way to the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Madam City Clerk.
Mr. Vice President, if I may, I'd like to thank Ms. Adamo for helping to keep Solid Road clean, because I see her every day picking up trash.
Thank you, Ms. Adamo.
They do their share and then some.
Wonderful.
Correct. Thank you for pointing that out.
Okay. Brian Leverett.
Yes. May I speak after Terrace Howard, please? Speaking in support of him.
Oh, okay. I thought you were speaking in place of him. Okay, so Mr. Theris Howard and Mr. Brian Leverett.
Is this one person speaking?
It's pre-signed regarding the kids banned for the gym, Parks and Recreation.
Did Mr., what is the gentleman's name?
Huh? Oh, no, Mr. Leverett, I thought he was speaking in place of Mr. Howard. I didn't know that he was here.
We're gonna only be able to hear from the individuals who called in before 2 o'clock on Thursday. So that would be Mr. Howard. If you could state your name and address, please.
Theris DeMarcus Howard at 1626 Brill Road. Used to speaking at funerals. I speak at a lot of funerals, so preaching normally get on for 3 minutes, so I'm gonna try to get everything in this time frame. To the great council board of this great city, city officials, citizens, everybody up under the sound of my voice, I would like to ask you for a favor. The favor is, right now, put aside your differences. Put aside race, creed, color, put aside pride, put aside position, power, office, and put yourself in a kid's position. But before you do that, picture you getting a memo before you came to this council meeting saying that you could not hold council meetings in its chambers, or the judges couldn't hold courts in their chambers for the sake of some rule that was in place for 20 years and tell you have to conduct your business outside. Well, that's how my kids felt when I had to deliver them the news, when I got a phone call while I was at work to come back and tell them that we couldn't practice in the gym for some rule that was in place for 20 years, stating that no organized team, AAU league or travel team cannot practice in the gym outside of basketball season for whatever reason. But I understand the reason why the rule's in place. It's not fair to the community kids to, they block it off during regular basketball season, but after basketball season, that's when this rule applies. And I understand why it's not fair to the community kids to have teams hogging up the floor and the kids outside can't come in and play regular pickup basketball. But this affected our kids, and that's not the case. These are the community kids. Coach kids over at the Hope Community Center. These are the community kids that got affected by this rule. I gave you guys some pamphlets with some text messages that I've got from some of my kids. I can't read them due to the time frame, but these are some situations for some of my kids, and just to state that this is bigger than basketball. The first one, that's item 1, is a kid that just texted me right now, asking me when this practice. He was asking me about this church league, and I gave him the information, and when the church league started, I didn't hear from him. And I finally reached out to him, said we had 2 games, where are you? And he finally texted back and said he was locked up, and he wanted to know when the next practice was. And that's a way that this kid know where refuge is. And also, this item number 2 is our kid that moved to Atlanta. He texted me excited, saying that, Coach, I moved to Atlanta and I made the varsity team, and I'm up here and I averaged 15 points a game. These kids was on the streets at one time. The third item was a kid just a week ago, I was dropping off, he disrespected his grandmother. And I got on to the kid and I told him that if you don't get this straight, I'm gonna suspend you from the program. And this kid reached back out to me and cried out his heart in item number 3. You can read them on your own time. But this is bigger than basketball. I was one of those kids, born and raised in Africa Town, my family. I was born and raised right across the track in Pritchard as well. So I was kicked off the Viger team for my attitude. But it was Coach Jerry Alexander. He's a city worker here, official Jerry Alexander. He had a program at that time to give me an opportunity to get my attitude and myself together. And with that being said, I graduated from Viger, stayed off the streets, and I walked on and tried out for Bishop State, and I got a full ride scholarship under J.D. Sherwood and moved on to University of South Alabama and got my degree. And while I was at South Alabama and playing for Bishop State, I went and worked out at the gym. But with that being said, that gave me an opportunity to work on my game and work on my skills. And as I got this degree in education, I changed my degree from computer science to education, physical education, to come back to my community to help these kids out and give them an opportunity. And to speed things up, when I got back, I went to California to pursue some other dreams. And I got back, and God sent me back here to get his sheep off the street. So when I got back to the community center, kids was outside shooting dice, they was gambling, they was fighting, they was hanging outside with nobody in the gym after basketball season. So I encouraged them to come in, develop a program, which I learned at Soft doing my profession, to come into the gym and keep all the kids active. Taught them how to love, taught them how to get along with each other through the game of basketball. With that being said, we started getting invites from AAU leagues around the team that these kids normally don't get an opportunity to play in. This tournament's $400, but these teams or team may drop out the tournament. So they give these kids an opportunity to go play in the tournament. They get exposure, and that motivate these kids. And the last thing said, the city cut the kids off at 14. 14 years old, they can't play for the city league in basketball. Well, you still have 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that don't have anything to do. So I found a church league that began in February. And that housed this age group, and that gave these kids an opportunity to play after the traditional basketball season was over. For the last 6 years, I've been coaching these kids inside the gym, ministering to these kids. Mr. Brian Leverett had a ministry at Morrison's Cafeteria to where I used to bring the kids out there on Saturdays, and they ministered and fed the kids for 5 years straight. And these kids went on and encouraged them to try out for their teams.
Yes, sir. And I hate to interrupt you, but your time is expired,
Okay.
Mr. Howard. We thank you for coming down. We do have individuals in leadership from the Parks and Rec Department here, Ms. Frazier, Mr. Collins, Mr. McCants. If they would come down and address the issues that Mr. Howard has brought to our attention, we certainly would be appreciated.
And some of these kids went on to try for Nick Saban at the University of Alabama just because they had this opportunity to, stay out the streets. So we just asked for compromise with the city, come up with some meeting outside of this meeting to continue what we're doing. How you doing, sir?
How you doing, Mr. Collins? We spoke on the phone.
Yes,
spoke
sir.
on the phone.
We
First of all, I like to applaud this man for what he's trying to do.
Yes, sir.
But again, when you have a policy, a policy just like with the gentleman before me spoke about an ordinance. When you have a policy, it's only as good if it's being enforced. And it's one of these situations where his situation might be a little different than another, but when you have a policy, it affects every center. So you can't have exceptions, because when you open up those little gray areas, it open yourself up for all different kinds of things. And this is just a policy we got to protect the kids in our centers, because, like I say, during our season of basketball, we allow organized practice, but like when we have these practices, we have to support the programs that we offer. But once the season is over, we go back to open play, because when you have a practice, it kind of commandeers the gym. When you have a practice, it's organized, so the kids who might not be playing, who might just want to come up for recreational play, they don't have a space. So once the season over, it always been, because I've been in place for right over a year. So when I first heard it, my knee-jerk reaction was like, no, this is not right, but then I always sit back and listen. And when the policy is in place, it's always in place for a reason. So I listened, and it made sense when they explained the reason why, because it displaces the kids for the community. Because a lot of times when you have AAU teams, I know this doesn't fit what this young man trying to do, but when you have AAU teams and travel teams, they normally want the best of the best. So you might have kids from all over, and then they come and practice in your gym, and they displace the kids from that community. And then a lot of the times, the kids from that community might not have the skill set or the ability, or a lot of times with the AAU teams and travel teams, or the finances to make one of these teams. So that's not fair to the kids. So that's why this rule is in place. Now, his situation is a little bit different, but at the same time, if you got a policy, the policy is you have to enforce it. And like I say, I think he was practicing previous to we getting in place, but we have a new administration in place. And we made some changes in the leadership, because, like, again, if the people that's there are not enforcing the policy, it's not worth the paper it's written on. So now we have Ms. Frazier in place. myself, we have Mr. McCann, we're making sure the policies are being adhered to. So now when you go to any center, your expectation, no matter what center you go to, is the same. Because as we came in, we started to see centers had, the rule here was applied here, but it wasn't applied here. And it kind of made it difficult for the citizens as well as our staff, because all our staff are interchangeable parts. At any point in time, Ms. Frazier, if she see a need, she can shift one of our employees to another center. And some of the employees will even say, when I go here, the rule is this. When I go here, so it's confusing. So right now, we're in a place of making sure all our policies are being adhered to, and it's one across the board. So no matter where you go, employee or citizen, if you walk into one of our recreation centers, the policy and the rules are the same. And that just cut down on confusion. And I think that's where some of this confusion came, because like I say, I think as of last year, he might have actually been practicing in the gym. And I can see how that could be confusing. Oh, right, yeah. But
the gym empty. I had the kids on the back of my truck after this rule started to take them practice behind school, and the gym empty. The kids that normally be in our community practicing on the back of my truck, and it's totally empty.
Yes, sir.
I had the kids with me.
But again, going back, not to cut you off, but going back to, all right, no problem. Respect is always first, all right? But the policy is in place because the attendance at different gyms, it varies at different times. So you gotta have that policy that covers everything, because maybe at Hope Center, it might not be that much activity at that time, but then you go to a James Seals or you'll go to a Hillsdale, the attendance level is high at that point. So, I mean, you really can't set it up where you have special privileges. You gotta have a policy across the board. And that's what we're doing. We just only enforcing the policy that's in the book, because we think it's fair to the staff, and we think it's fair to the community, and whatever. But like I said, I like to applaud this man for what he's trying to do, because it's definitely a need. And there is a space. And like I say, I think we had a preacher here that was earlier that spoke.
Yes, sir. Mr. Collins.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your commentary, Mr. Howard. Thank you for what you're doing and your commentary. I'd ask that you all continue to have dialogue.
Yes.
If there are other ideas, other avenues, if there are even churches within our cities that would be willing to work with Mr. Howard and his effort, we ask that you contact us or contact him so that information can be relayed to him. And thank you all for what you're doing.
All right, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Madam City Clerk.
Reverend Christopher Williams.
Yes, sir. Can you state your name and address, Reverend Williams?
Good morning. Chris Williams, Christopher L. Williams, Senior Pastor of Yorktown Missionary Baptist Church, located at 851 East Street in the Africatown Plateau community. I came today just to speak to the council. I wanted to address you and share some things with you. Several months ago, myself and several other members met with the mayor. I was hoping he would be here today. We carried to him some complaints, some conflicts, some confusion. And once we talked to him, he got in touch with the Parks and Recreation. And so I wanted to come today and convey to you that the Parks and Recreation, Mr. McCants, Ms. Frazier, Mr. Collins, Mr. Williams, and especially Ms. Thornton at the Hope Community Center are working with us. They're doing things with us to help us get the community center back to what we wanted it to be. We complained about the beautification of the center. They came out and they put the flowers, they steam washed the building. We have some other things that are going on that we still need some help with. But I wanted to commend those, especially Ms. Thornton, who is there at the center, who works with all of us. And anytime we go in, she's pleasant. It's a big difference from what it was. What we wanted to say after I heard what Ms. Collins said, that they moved the employees. One of the things that I would ask is that you not move her. She has done an outstanding job. And I wrote down some things that I wanted to say, and I want to do it briefly because I know you have things to do. I understand that you have complaints, but we had some complaints. All of them have not been addressed. All of them have not been fulfilled, but we're working on them.
and the city employees are helping us work on them. We want to commend Mr. Collins, who, after we met with the mayor, he says, I will work with you, I'll help you. And Ms. Frazier and Mr. McCants, they came to the community, they came to the center, they worked with us, they helped us, and we always criticize and complain, but I wanted to come and commend them for working with us, for helping us, and tell you that we appreciate them. I've noticed on occasion that you recognize employees, and I think that they need to be recognized, and I didn't bring any gifts, I didn't bring any plaques, but I brought a heartfelt thanks to you and to them for a job well done. And that's what I wanted to say. I appreciate your time. Thank you. God bless you.
And thank you for all you do in the Africatown Plateau community. Thank you, Doc.
Also, Pastor McFarland was here, and I commend him. Yorktown has been in existence for 137 years.
All right.
Amen.
All right. Go ahead, Yorktown. All right. Madam City Clerk.
The next four individuals are regarding the same issue, which is Parks and Recreation in Maysville community. We have Lorenzo Green, Carolyn Mays, Zion Jackson, and Cassetta Blanks Jackson.
I'm going to ask Minister Jackson and Mrs. Blanks, the leadership of Parks and Rec. Your concerns are relative to Parks and Rec. The leadership of Parks and Rec is here, where you can talk with them directly about whatever issues you might have. Would you all be amenable to talking directly with them? We have. Pardon me?
Are they the one that's going to release the money? Or are you going to release it?
Well, come on.
This one.
I'm Minister Cassetta Blanks Jackson, President of the Maysville Concerned Citizens.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Mr.
Lorenzo Green.
Ms. Carolyn Blanks Mays.
But we want to make this clear. When we talk with these people, they're letting us know that this is out of their hands. So we're here to the city, like I was saying last time when we met at the meeting. We are not getting what the scope of work is requesting. If the scope of work called for 10 bricks and there's no change order and we only get 5, then something's not right with that when the recipient, the vendor, is getting paid for that initial bid. So what we're seeing is it's almost like we're getting leftovers and nobody want to stand up for these children in our community, and that's not right. We're in contact with Martha Peaks, who is working with us to accommodate our children while the field is being repaired. If the school board is using city property, city should be able to use school board property. That's something the council and the city needs to work out.
Yes, sir.
And it needs to be done soon, because like the brother before me, we're losing these children. We're losing coaches because we don't have the programs. This could be organized to the point that we can work this out. We have bids.
Mr. Green.
Yeah.
Hold 1 second. I'm going to ask Ms. Harden to come down. You brought up an issue relative to scope of work. If you could address that. And Ms. Collins, if you might as well come on down too, just in case. If you could briefly address the concerns relative to scope of work that Mr. Green has come down twice now to address us on.
Yes, sir. Mr. Green and I actually met last time you were here for council and discussed his concerns at particularly Harmon Community Center. And one of the items he brought to my attention I very much appreciate, because we, at that point, were not aware of a problem, which was with the backstop on the redone playing field, and we have a contractor who we had not done the substantial completion walkthrough, so we had not caught the problem, and I was so glad he brought it to our attention. But the backstop is too short and not put back as it was supposed to be. They are supposed to have it installed correctly They have told us that they'll have it done by this weekend. So we'll then have an inspection and make sure that is true. So I think that's one of the main things he was concerned about, scope of work, because they did not initially put it back like it had been before.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it's been rectified at this point, or we will make sure it is before they are released and they are paid for their work.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that part of it?
Part
Is
of
that it? Okay.
You got some more minutes.
How many,
need our minutes.
Madam City Clerk, how many individuals signed in?
4.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Green, you can continue.
Okay, and to finish, something needs to be done because there's a disparity in treatment in our district, and we're blessed, Maysville as a community, with 2 representatives. And our representatives are not ensuring that the citizens of those districts are receiving equal services from the city. We have a problem at the community center where they say we got too many children coming up, but then they say we don't have enough children coming to provide additional personnel. I have a paper here where a wall started off being $30,000, reduced to $12,000, but I really don't see that paperwork, or we don't even have the scope of work that was supposed to be done, the bids that accompanied it for that particular wall. We're saying that we could add personnel as opposed to security measures. We got more cameras at the community center than we do projects and activities for the children. Those children had to leave their book bags outside the community center. And of all the days that those bags were out there were only 1 bag taken. Other than that, there's no theft going on outside and around that community. Those children, we have good children in the community, and they deserve more. And they deserve more from people who will represent them and not sit back and not do anything because pressures from other places are on them. So we're asking the city to work with us. We're asking the city if they could work with Martha Peaks, who's willing to work with us. And she said she would, only if we could provide the security necessary. And I think when I spoke with the police officer at the center, they don't mind doing that. So if we can get the city to monitor these projects a little closer to ensure that we get what's paid for and that our children in the process, somebody dropped a ball in the planning process of these centers, parks and recreation, ball fields, to start construction during baseball season and not have alternative areas for them to practice. So something's got to be done.
Mr. Green, thank you for coming down. I just want to say briefly, speaking for myself and for Councilman Small, we are concerned because were we not concerned, the resources that have been allocated, that have never in this amount been allocated in the Maysville community, in the Maysville community's history, would not have been allocated.
We thank the mayor for that.
No, sir. You thank the council for that, because the council and the council persons, particularly myself, allocated nearly $400,000 to fix the backstop and to put the playground that's there. Now, once the council passes what's done, then it goes over to the administration, and the administration is responsible for implementation. The administration is responsible for making certain that the backstop isn't too short, or that everything that we've appropriated monies for is properly procured and secured and installed. So it's been this council, and particularly this councilman, that put the money there. So the statement that we don't care or that we've not done anything is an erroneous statement, because I have 19 distinct communities in District 2 that would love to have $400,000 in one fiscal year allocated for park and rec amenity improvements. And that's what we've done. And as I've told you, President, this is just phase 1. But more has been spent in regards to the rec center and in regards to that playground since I've been your councilman than in the history of that community. Now, you may have issues relative to what hadn't been installed or wasn't installed correctly, that's not this council's job. That's why we have Ms. Harden here. That's why we have persons in her staff who are supposed to follow through with the contractors, do a final walkthrough, and if anything isn't becoming to what's in the contract, it's their job as the administration to work those issues out. But I want to make certain that you understand and the community understands that we've worked together to do more in the Maysville community in the 4 or 5 years that we've been in office than have been done in the history of the Maysville community, and it's just the start. And we've been telling that to your president and to the citizens of Maysville since we got started.
Well, let me say
one
that.
One second,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Green. Mr. Collins, if you could give us some brief commentary, then your time has expired. Mr. Green, let's hear from Minister Jackson.
I just, for the record, Mr. Green spoke about using facilities, the Mobile County Public School System. As of right now, the school board has a usage policy that the only school board activities can happen in their facilities or on their facilities. That's the usage policy that the school board, they have to be school board related activities. Mr. Green has spoken with me about possibly having a meeting with Ms. Peak that would allow the kids from the community to use the field that's adjacent to the center for them to practice, but we cannot move forward or do nothing until we hear something from the school board. So it's nothing we can do, our hands are tied. But as of right now, the policy that the school board has in place, the only thing that can happen on the school board property is school board related activities. That is the gyms or green spaces. And that's the policy that the school board has in place as of right now.
Yes, sir.
So we have no autonomy to do anything on their property unless we're directed something has to come from them, so we cannot move forward. So I just want to put that on the record.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Minister Jackson.
Yes. These are things, what was that? That was promised for 2017 we want. You know, that pool got to be removed. It's still filled with water and got bugs and everything while the children out there playing.
Yes,
we want temporary portables outside until the permanent bathroom is built on the outside. And we want the parking lot. The parking lot, it fills up with water. It need to be drainage, you know, when the people come out, when we get ready to play. Now, the sidewalk on Duval, you know, we was promised that, but it hadn't started yet. That was 2017. And we want that circle removed on Antwerp and Orange Street. And we need more seats for the people when we come out and play. That said, it's not enough. It's not enough. And we need a bench for the players. And we already talked about the backdrop, you know, we need that. Okay, also, I see the mayor is not here, but he was on TV this morning riding that bicycle. I saw him. That was live one. Okay, from 8 to 9, we need that center open. So you need to do it for all the centers or however you want to do it, but Harmon Recreation Center used to be open from 8 to 9 and send us some more employees. So, you know, I would like for the mayor to know that he's not over here, but, you know, let him know. And that room in the back, what they closed down, what Mr. Green was talking about, that $30,000 and then they charge us $12,000. No, we want that and we demand, that's what we want. Okay, for our community, we want it to be an exercise room for adults. They can come in the morning and then some kind of activities in that room. Only adults back there.
Yes, ma'am.
And we need some more employees. So I want the mayor to know we want that. We need to open from 8 to 9. And you know what? Adults come in there to play ball. And guess what? You got to leave at 7 o'clock. Grown folks. You having a game or something and you got to shut it down at 7 o'clock. The devil's a lie. So we demand, and that $39 million, which I've been calling down here, and nobody want to tell me when the public is invited to come and let us know. We have a say over that money. All our, I'm going to tell it just like it is, no sugarcoat. All our African-American communities have been elected for over 40 years, and we demand, we want some of that money inside our communities. Instead of you putting it right down in one area, we want y'all to go into Happy Hill and all the other areas, and Maysville, Thomasville, and fix up our communities. We are taxpayers, and we want that. We don't get anything. And guess what? When you don't want people to be in different areas, you don't put nothing in it. And that's the reason the people leaving instead of coming back to your neighborhood and remodel and restore those homes. In the name of Jesus, amen. And we asking the mayor, you know, he's not here, but give us that $39 million. We want to be in the planning commission when they make from now on what's going on in this city.
Yes, ma'am.
Amen.
Amen. Mrs.
Okay.
Blanks?
I heard what you said.
Name and address.
Name and address, please.
My name is Carolyn Blanks Mays. My address is 1103 Antwerp Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Mobile, Alabama 36605.
Yes, ma'am.
I heard you say that you had done more for this district in our area than it had ever been done. That's true. But you know, that says to me that's sad too. That's not just you did good, but that is sad.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means for the past 40 to 50 years, nothing has gone into our neighborhoods. And for me to see all of you around here getting in and everything, that's all fine. And we have never been in the planning or restoring rehabilitation. I can look all over town and I can see where you're gonna revitalize at the cannon down, that park down there. But so, in other words, that red line that has been around our neighborhood, all the black African neighborhoods, that's a disgrace. And we hollering that some of the 39 million gonna go to Africatown. Whatever, we still in Africatown. We might not have them, no, let me talk. Let me talk, you all them talk. We might not have them chains on us. And we might have worked to come in the front door, eat at the lunch counter and vote, but that's all we got because we don't get none of that money. Everything that comes into the city, county, and state, at least 80% of it don't come to us. Whenever something is done to restore this city, we are never included. And we today want that change. In the planning commission, we don't want that planning commission coming together until it's time for us to have a part on how our city look. Everybody bragging about Mobile, but you pay no attention to the black neighborhood, like we are not there, like we are still slaves. That is wrong. And for all y'all to sit here so calm like that, that bothers my spirit. And I know it bothers God. Our street signs are so black. The signs are so horrible. You can't see what's real. You have to go up to it. Now that is a disgrace. It's not like that everywhere else. So that means that we're still in the cartel. And we are not going to stand by and allow our tax dollar just to go to one spot. That slave ship has to end. That has to end. And everybody sitting up talking about our neighborhood. You ain't put nothing in it. You haven't put anything in it. And that's a disgrace. That is a disgrace. And I want to change. And our black people gonna be in on that 39 million. That 39 million don't supposed to be going to the mayor so he can ride his bike. No, that 39 million need to be coming to our community. And we want all this done. We want to know where all this money been going that's coming in Mobile for the past 40 years. Sure haven't been coming to our neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't sit up there and say it's been coming there now, because it hasn't been coming there. You can go through it and look, see the difference. No development, no developers, nobody. How you gonna ignore us like that? How you gonna sit there with a clear conscience and ignore us and have no plan? And that goes on in every city, town, and state where there are black people. You have put us out. That is wrong. And we're not gonna stand by here in Mobile and continue to let that happen. You can't sit there with clear conscience and allow that kind of crap to happen. That 39 million, y'all better not spend it yet. Don't spend it unless all of us gonna be in on that meeting. Don't spend that money.
Thank you, Mrs. Blanks, your time. No, ma'am, no, ma'am.
That's the first bill,
That's the second bill. Your time has expired. And let me just clarify.
Thank y'all for your time for listening.
Let me just clarify. The 30, you can have your seat, Mrs. Blanks.
You said you wanted to clarify something.
But it doesn't require any rebuttal. You can have your seat. Thank
Well,
you.
I might want to rebuttal.
Your time is over.
Well,
No
everybody else
rebuttal.
talk time.
No rebuttal.
Everybody else can talk.
No. Thank you, Mrs. Blanks. Thank you.
Let's
We have
clarify
very
next week.
patiently listened.
And we set your
Yes, ma'am, and I understand. Thank you. Hold a minute, Ms. Blank. Oh, Ms. Blanks, we're not gonna have the back and forth. I sat here patiently and listened, heard every word you said, what was on target and off target. And so I want to just make sure that you all understand that those $39 million are not under the direct control of the city of Mobile. There's a separate congressionally appointed board that handles that. Any concerns that you and your sister might have relative to those funds, you need to address those to Mr. Jimmy Lyons, who is the chair of that commission at the Alabama State Port Authority. The city of Mobile put in applications for those resources just like every other municipality. And we got turned down on some, we got approved on some, but you have a 45-day time window in which to offer up your commentary. If you disagree, let Mr. Lyons and the commission know. But this is not the appropriate venue. It doesn't get to the right people. The mayor is a member of the commission, but he's not here. So you're coming to us as if we made the decisions when we didn't. And so I'd encourage you to seek Mr. Lyons. Let him know they've got an outline process where you can let them know how you feel about the projects. And if you think something merits awarding a project in Maysville, then you have a process to let them know that. But this is not the venue. I'm sorry, that's no back and forth. Again, Madam City Clerk, let's continue with the agenda.
Consent resolutions held over 37-194 and 37-195, recommending approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a lounge retail liquor Class 2 package store license for Kong Package Store on Holcomb Avenue, and for issuance of a retail beer, table wine, off-premises only license for Kong Convenience Store on Holcomb Avenue.
Move to lay over both. Move to lay over both for 1 week.
Second.
Probably motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Items laid over.
Resolutions held over 21-205 and 206, authorized contract with Modern Communications Group, Inc., doing business as Forward Consulting to produce audiovisual material, and 21-206, authorized contract with James L. Bramlett, doing business as Jim Bramlett Productions to produce audiovisual material.
So moved.
Second. Probably motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items passed.
21-207, authorized contract with United Site Services of Mississippi for service contract, waterboard toilets, various City of Mobile locations.
So moved.
Probably
Second.
motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items passed.
37-208, approve the application of Jack Green, doing business as Kingdom Builders Travel Service for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate a motor coach service.
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes.
Consent resolutions being introduced for the first time. If there's no objection, I'll take them all together.
Please
No
do.
objection.
Okay. 03211 through 6214.
Move for suspension of the rules for immediate consideration of resolutions 03211 through 60214.
Second.
Probably motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
03211, appoint Ben Reynolds to the Golf Course Advisory Committee. 37212, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a nonprofit tax-exempt license for Barefoot Ball, Contage Street, Cathedral Square Park. 58213, assess cost for removal of weeds, repeat Weedling Group number 17. And 6214, determine expenditure of discretionary funds for contribution to the Liberty Learning Foundation, serve as a public purpose, and approve payment.
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items passed.
Resolutions being introduced for the first time, 01215 through 25222.
Move for suspension of the rules for immediate consideration of resolution 23221, and the remainder will hold over by council rules.
Second.
Probably motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
23221, accept correction deed from Mobile County to correct typos in the legal description in the original deed for West Side Park.
So moved. Second.
Probably motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item passes.
Announcements.
Any announcements?
Have
Mr.
none.
Williams? Mr.
None.
Small?
Bypass.
I'd just like to remind everyone that the District 5 community meeting is this evening at 6 o'clock p.m., Westminster Presbyterian Church, corner of Sage and Airport. Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Rich?
Thank you. I would just like to thank everyone who came out from the city and from the citizens who came to review the plans for access management on Hillcrest Road, and also to remind people that their feedback forms are due back to my office, which will be then given to the traffic engineer by April 12th. Thank you.
Mrs. Gregory?
And the meeting Thursday, Love Your Community. Come on out, John Archer Agricultural Center, 6 o'clock.
No, any further announcements? Happy Easter to each and every one of you. Thank God that Jesus rose. Any further announcements?
Happy
Do I hear a motion?
Passover.
And happy Passover.
Thank you.
Any announcement? Do I hear a motion? So moved. Probably motion second. All in favor? Aye. Meet adjourned.